Our next speaker is one of my favorite patient advocates, Amber Free. Amber is the founder and CEO of SLC6A1 Connect. Beyond her role as a successful leader, Ms. Free is a devoted mother to adorable twins, Riley and Maxwell. The journey with Maxwell's diagnosis of SLC6A1, a rare neurological disease, become a turning point in Amber's life. With unwavering determination, she left her career in equity research analysis on the day of Maxwell's diagnosis, committing herself to the mission of finding a cure.
I'm so happy to be here today, and I'm so honored to be here for such a special occasion. And I got to see the ribbon and the big pair of scissors. My name is Amber Freed. I'm a former equity analyst, but much more important, I'm Maxwell's mom. I commit 100% of my time to developing treatment for rare disease and founded the nonprofit SLC6A1. I would like to say I became involved in these efforts from pure altruism, but that's not the case. My son was struck by genetic lightning. Prior to Maxwell, I lived in blissful ignorance that this was a thing in this world and that there were people working on cures for diseases for everybody, and found that's just not the case. So I wanted to share a video of my family so you can meet Maxwell and Riley yourself.
The only thing I ever wanted in life was to be a mother. And like a lot of people, it was harder than we thought it would be. With a lot of prayer, 2 years of IVF, we finally received the news that we were having not one, but 2 precious little babies. And it was the happiest moment of my life.
Where are we going, Mark?
We're going to the hospital.
I went into labor early, and we were so nervous. And the moment I heard Maxwell's cry changed me as a person. The day we received Maxwell's diagnosis, I went back to work. I told them all something really bad has happened and I have to leave right now. And I didn't even grab my earbuds. I just walked out. And I didn't know what I was gonna do or how I was going to do it, but I knew I was going to do it. I knew I was going to help Maxwell and every other child with this disease. Maxwell was diagnosed with a rare disease that was so rare it didn't even have a name. It's known as SLC6A1, which is the genetic location. At the time of the diagnosis, we were told he was one of 50 in the world and that nothing could ever be done. And just go home and give him the best life you can. Between the ages of 3 and 4, these kids develop a debilitating form of epilepsy, and then they regress because there aren't any drugs that can treat the epilepsy well. So his neurological system will essentially be on fire with no way to help him. I will fight and advocate for him to the death, and if something can be done, I'm going to do it. So I just looked right back at the doctors and I said, if this were your son today, what would you do? And they said, start calling scientists. Every scientist said, have you thought about gene replacement therapy? It looks like this disease can actually not only be treated, but cured. There was one scientist in Texas that we identified as our man. He's extremely busy, nearly impossible to get his attention. So I started sending him Uber snacks and snapshots of Maxwell. I found out he was speaking at the National Institute of Health at a conference. I took a red eye and I just showed up. And there he was sitting in the front row. And I walked right up to the front row and I just sat down next to him and was trying to play it cool. And he turned to me and he said, "Hi, Amber." And I said, "Hi, Steve, can we go out to dinner tonight?" And after a 4-hour dinner, we had a plan, and we were gonna cure this disease together. The cure is actually created now. We're going to come close to 500,000 within the next couple of weeks. We've raised all of that money through $20 donations on GoFundMe. Gene therapy is being done in thousands of diseases like Maxwell's. So we know it's going to work. We need to raise the money and complete the science for his particular gene. The more money we raise, the faster we can go. We can do some steps in parallel that we're doing chronologically right now. The treatment itself is extremely simplistic. You receive a 2-hour spinal tap where the new gene is introduced into the body through a virus that doesn't make humans sick. The virus goes up through your spinal fluid to your brain, and it's a smart virus. So it attacks the bad copies of the DNA and stacks good working copies of the DNA on top. And viruses permanently alter your DNA. So it's a 2-hour treatment that's once and done for the rest of your life. Someday, this disease will be on a newborn screening panel, so children will be diagnosed while they are still in the hospital, and parents will receive the devastating news that their child has a rare neurological disease, but they'll be treated before they leave the hospital, and they will never become symptomatic. There will never be another Maxwell Fried. I'm coming before you today as a humble mother, asking for your help to help save Maxwell from his rare disease. I really don't have the words of gratitude for you, other than to say thank you so much for helping my baby.
So you can see that they were absolute best friends from the beginning, and they continue to be best friends. If I had not had twins and two babies right next to each other, I may not have noticed the things that were different about Maxwell as quickly as I had. And I would go to the doctor, and doctors would say, "Amber, you are a type A paranoid mother." And I'd say, "Yes, obviously, but why is Maxwell floppy? Why does he have these strange movements that I now know are called stereotypies? Why doesn't he play with toys? Why does it feel like he's trapped in his body?" And doctors would say, "Well, boys are slower than girls, and don't compare twins." And over time, I sensed the change in their tone, and I was already 5 steps ahead of those doctors, getting Maxwell into the right doctors at Children's. And after genetic testing, my worst fears were confirmed. And I can just say to everybody sitting in this room, as a function of living, we've all survived our most dark, desperate moment in life. And I thought I had too. I mean, I was hoping not to have any more. But having a little baby in your arms diagnosed with something that nobody can help, that is just the most sickening feeling when doctors say nothing can or will ever be done, and you're not even going to find a doctor that knows very much about this disease. Your best bet is to begin talking to social services. I haven't really seen too many families where both parents are able to work. Start thinking about things you can do for Riley. I remember that moment so clearly, and I wanted nothing more than to crawl under a rock and just disappear and die. And there are many days that I still do, but I'm a mom. And we wake up the next day with the same amount of energy that we had the day before to help our kids. And this wasn't about me then, and it's not about me now. It's about Maxwell, and it's about every other kid with rare disease. And so I made the decision at that moment to fight like a mother. I always like to use the tagline that I'm fighting like the third monkey on the loading deck to Noah's Ark, and it just started to rain. Like, we're going to knock some monkeys off of the boat. We're going to change the way the system has historically been done. And as you saw from the video, that was my call to action. And I set off to create Maxwell's Miracle entirely on my own. I started SLC6A1 mostly as a backward nonprofit. We know where we need to go. We need translational solutions. We need to target the genetic cause of what is causing this monogenic haploinsufficient loss of function. We have the tools today at our fingertips. How do we get there? So I started calling scientists with the ultimate goal of putting this nonprofit out of business. I would love to be unemployed by this very terrible paying job and depressing, because if I put myself out of business, kids are cured. There is impact. Like, let's knock one off and move on to more things. And so we have, in the day-to-day, it doesn't feel like that much has happened, but when you take a step back and look at the course of a year or 2 years or now 5 years, you can really see what's been done. And I understand that we're just the tip of the iceberg. SLC6A1 controls half of the body's most important inhibitory neurotransmitter, GABA. The transporter is named GAT1. Most people don't know the gene SLC6A1, but GAT1 does resonate with them. We're the 10th most prevalent cause of autism, the 6th most prevalent cause of epilepsy, and we're a large contributor to many psychiatric conditions. So you can imagine the type of impact you could have by making discoveries in this gene and what other breakthroughs that could lead to. These children with SLC6A1 may be able to live into young adulthood, but I'm not sure many of us would want that. Like, as adults with functioning minds, would you really want to live like these kids do? It's a terrible quality of life. There's no place for them in society, and as parents, like, we hope that our children outlive us, but what if You're terrified of dying as a parent. What if you can't die because there's not going to be anybody to take care of your child? And that's what I see with SLC6A1. The way we've identified our oldest patients, which are not old, is that, like the kids, they're severely intellectually handicapped, they have refractory epilepsy, they suffer from mental illness, and they have a movement disorder. And they are fertile, so they have kids. And when they have kids, a lot of times they are part of the justice system in some form, and their kids are taken away immediately, and they're put in foster care, and then they're able to go to some type of center of excellence where the children receive good health care and a lot of times genetic testing because something is just not right. And then they become part of SLC6A1. We have families of 4 or 5 kids, all with the same disorder. And as a society, we are juggling to provide medical care for these families. Kids are separated from their parents. Parents can't take care of themselves. Here is a solution to so many problems that we're all dealing with. And this cycle right now could make me vomit, but it's also such a big opportunity for change. And so for SLC, I like to think that we are a catalyst for change. The old paradigm of drug development is being turned upside down right now because parents are impatient. Parents don't have time for the way things have been historically done. We really need answers, not in our lifetime, in the next 5 years. We've created a mantra of saying, I'm going to create my own miracle. I am captain of my own ship. And I had no idea what I was getting myself into when I set off on this journey, but essentially, parents are tasked with landing on the moon, get an honorary PhD, become an MD, support yourself, support your family, and take care of super sick loved ones, all while raising the most ridiculous sums of money in $10 increments, creating GoFundMes, and bearing your darkest heartache on social media. It's really kind of, I don't know, like a sick joke. Like nobody likes Facebook, but here, go on Facebook and start crying, talking about the most terrible flaws of society and terrible things that have happened to your family. So I do like to touch on our common core beliefs. And my dream for SLC6A1 in rare disease is that parents are given this terrible diagnosis. Like your child was just diagnosed with a disease too rare to have a name. It sounds like alphabet soup. But when that diagnosis is delivered by a clinician, they also come to that family with like a cheesecake factory menu of options. And they educate the families. Maybe small molecules are the right thing, or antisense, or gene replacement. And they educate those families. And the families can make the best decision for themselves. So I view SLC6A1 as the glue that binds scientists creating the options, doctors implementing those options, and meanwhile, educating families so that we can empower them to make the right decisions. We bring together the patients, scientists, and industry partners to create what will someday be a much different future for our children than what we have experienced for ourselves. And some of our accomplishments in the past couple years have been a 3-year natural history study that we own, a publicly available file repository, 2 registries, building infrastructure from the ground up, get an ICD-10 code, work with your state on newborn screening initiatives, doing everything entirely by yourself. Like, go, absolutely engineer mice of your kids in China. What? Okay. Like, I don't even know what that means, but we did it. Now I know what it means. And I think it's really important to brag about IXL for a moment, because every day we are juggling all of these insane expectations and things we know nothing about. You just want one thing in your life to be easy. And for us, that has been IXL. We've been able to streamline everything we do in cell systems because we have a reliable, consistent partner, and we trust those test results every single time. So we're finally at a stage where we're moving things out of academia and saying, design whatever it is you have and send it to IXLs, and it's fine if it's blindfolded, whatever. But that's where we keep our cells. And so everything can go to one central location and we can get things done on a timeline that would make sense to the Mayans instead of science talk. I refer my friends all the time, of course, to help everybody, but to make their lives easier, just one thing to relieve stress. And I can say that it's relieved my anxiety like much better than Zoloft did. We started with the little boy you see there, but we've grown into what you see below. And constantly new families are contacting me, like all of the time. New organizations are popping up and we're finding better ways to do things. SLC6A1 is a transporter. I have my friend Monica Elnikave here. She's a GABA receptor. We've paired together. She's working with IXLs to begin things. And we are making insane progress, but of course it's never as quickly as we want it to. Even with that, we wake up, we can take more punches than Mike Tyson in a day and wake up with the same resolve the next day to keep working because it's our kids. And this is, as Neon Way said, it's a crime to turn your back. So in closing, if you would like to follow me or connect, that is my LinkedIn, and I update regularly. I'm going to do a better job of updating more frequently. And thank you so much for having me here today.
Thank you so much, Amber. Your words means a lot to us.